Okay, welcome back to the Slow Flower Show with Deborah Prinzing. This is episode 617. Welcome, friends. I have such a lively and informative episode to share with you today. A few weeks ago, before we welcomed 150 guests to the Slow Flower Summit, I joined my husband Bruce to drive 5 hours east, accompanying him on a short business trip. We drove across the state to Walla Walla in the southeast corner of Washington, an area that's become a major winery and tourism hub. Well, I can't travel anywhere without looking up our local Slow Flower Society members and asking permission to visit their floral design studio, their shop, or their flower farm. On my last trip to Walla Walla, pre-COVID, I visited flower farmer Elaine Vandiver of Gholson Farms, and I recorded an audio interview with her. But our community is growing there. In the past year, Anne Sumner of Walla Walla Flower Farm joined the Slow Flower Society, and I was eager to meet her and learn her story, which you'll hear today. Walla Walla Flower Farm is a small-scale, woman-owned and operated farm growing cut flowers in the beautiful Walla Walla Valley. Hailing from generations of Walla Walla Valley farmers and growing up working on the family farm, Anne has come back to her roots after years of raising and homeschooling children, working as a registered nurse, and most recently serving as a bank vice president. Walla Walla Flower Farm feels to Anne like truly coming home. Her mission and mantra of the farm is share flowers, share joy. Anne certainly shared her flowers and her joy with me. When I learned that she and her husband Scott were soon heading to Idaho for a week-long fiddling convention, I asked if they would play some music and allow me to record it. I'm so happy to open and close this episode with their guitar fiddle duo. Let's jump right in and get started, and I'll share our sponsor thank yous at the end.
So this is a waltz that I wrote many years ago. It's called Sage Waltz.
Hi, Anne.
Hi, I'm Anne Sumner. Welcome to Walla Walla Flower Farm.
Oh my gosh, you're going to give me a little tour?
I'll give you a little tour.
Okay.
We started off here already with these beautiful hollyhocks.
Yeah, tell me about these stunners. I mean, honestly, it's a cottage garden explosion.
They are a little crazy right now.
They're biennials, right?
They live all year round.
Really?
Here. Yeah.
Wow.
In the winter they're down. We cut the foliage back, but they just come back every year. They were planted by Alice, who built this house, and so I inherited her rose garden, and the hollyhocks came with it, and they will get out of control if we don't stop them, but they just come back.
But you said you're advocating for more people to, like wholesalers, to have these available.
That would be
as
wonderful,
a cut flower.
yeah.
Why aren't more people doing that?
I do not know.
Wow.
Maybe there aren't a lot out there. I don't know, but they've always held up well for me in the vase.
Oh, fabulous. So this is a established stand, and you've got another big established stand back there. Should we walk down?
They do what they want. We'll head this way if you want to follow me.
So Walla Walla Flower Farm is kind of ironic because Walla Walla is in Washington, but you're technically across the street in Oregon, right?
I am. We're in the Walla Walla Valley, though.
Okay.
So we're, there's Walla Walla Cheese Company there in Mountain Free Water. We just all kind of co-opt.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Walla Walla.
Oh, this is beautiful. So this is like a grape arbor that you've...
Yeah, it used to be straight across, and when we put in the flowers, I told my husband, Scott, I think I really want to just like, I've got to be able to go straight out. So he put this in for me, and we just trained the grapes over.
Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. So beautiful.
Makeshift. We had to keep the dogs out. They were running roughshod over everything.
Oh, I was wondering what animal you were trying to keep out. Shall I pull it close?
No, they're locked up right now.
Oh, this is so beautifully organized. So what was this before you started planting? Just
dirt.
field?
Dirt,
Okay.
yeah. It was in alfalfa for the first several years that we were here. My family has a larger farming operation near here, so they have all the equipment that I don't have, so I'm kind of in their rotation. So it was hay, and they would do big bales. And then the last couple years it was wheat. And we decided to go with oat hay this year because alfalfa takes several years to really establish and start being profitable. So
oat hay is their crop.
oat hay, it's my crop,
Oh,
but
okay.
they help me farm it.
Oh, okay, great. And
I do the grunt work. I change the pipes, I trap the gophers, all of that stuff.
okay, and then the flowers are a relatively new addition.
The flowers we just put in this year.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
No.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. So you kind of obviously don't have exactly flat land, but you were able to kind of create this central walkway and then beds going off on either direction.
right, we have 3,620-foot rows, so 18 on both sides. And 3 of them belong to my friend Katie. She's an herbalist, and she has a company called Goodness Botanicals. So she has 3 rows where she grows her botanicals, and the rest are mine.
Oh wow. Okay, why don't we
Yeah.
just look at what you've got? Look, seriously, everything's numbered and labeled. You're raising the bar here.
I don't know about that. Well, everything this year, because it's my first year, and I really don't know what's going to grow here. What am I going to be able to grow well? So I kind of did a smattering. I know I've heard advice where, grow a couple things really well.
Right.
And I did the opposite.
Well,
So-
you're in your R&D.
Yeah, these are all volunteer. We used to have a fence here that we had sunflowers on, and so these are all volunteer. that
Nature's gift.
we let them stay.
Yeah.
Yes, and I don't know if I will do that again, but we let them also stay in the rows. So this is yarrow over here.
So that, I guess there technically could be competing, but not super problematic.
Yeah, and Katie purposefully planted hers. She has some holy basil in there that it gives nice shade to. So there's that aspect of it
Oh, how
too.
smart.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. So you've got the nasturtium are just at the ends of every row. Is that kind of an insect control thing?
Correct. Yeah.
So
I threw
smart.
some in the middle, and wherever something didn't take or come up, I've just thrown nasturtium seeds in, some phacelia here and there where I have
What a wonderful idea.
holes. Yeah.
Love it. So are you focusing, your plan is to focus mainly on annuals for now? You have some obviously Lysianthus over here.
I do. It's a smattering.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with more perennials next year.
Okay.
My plan is along the field edge over there, I'll put in woodies this fall and have a nice border of them all the way along. And
To kind of create your edge and your windbreak too, or
correct.
along where the tree line is, or across this back row?
All the way, see the neighbors down there?
Uh-huh.
So our corner is at that far fence down there.
Oh,
So
wow.
all the way up that edge.
Oh, you'll have lots of room to grow and expand. That's
Yeah.
crazy. You've got some snaps coming up here.
I do. I've been cutting already from those. They're pretty fun.
When did you actually plant? When does it get, the soil get pliable enough to sow?
Sure. I started putting things in the ground April 1st. I gambled a bit. I was watching the weather. I was watching the farmers. I was watching what my family was doing, and I gambled a bit, but I did have a plan. So I have above ground sprinklers here for the pathways.
Okay.
So if we were going to hit a night where we're going to have a hard freeze, the one where we always say, oh, that's the day we lost all the apples.
Oh.
I would have turned the sprinklers around just for that.
Just to
morning or whatever,
keep some
but-
what will the irrigation kind of keep everything from freezing? Is that it?
Well, I think it keeps the cells from bursting as they warm back
Oh,
up. So
I
it gives them
see.
a little ice protection.
I
is what
see.
it does. I don't know.
I'm
if
glad
it
that
would've
didn't have
worked,
to happen this year
but
then.
it didn't happen. So yeah, I put in the cool, the Sweet William. I put in first because I knew it could handle it.
Yeah, that's this row number 5 here, right?
Correct.
Yeah, lovely. Oh, just the whole idea of being able to mow between your rows, and you have landscape cloth or weed suppression cloth, so you probably cut your labor down quite a bit by doing that.
Oh, for sure. I think for all the weeding that we have done, it would have been a non-starter without the fabric.
No.
We wouldn't have been able to even find a plant.
Do you have help, or is it pretty much you and then Scott, your husband, helps a little bit?
Scott helps a lot. I have a mom that helps a lot. I have daughters and that help a lot. And Katie helps. So I have help, but I've done a lot of work out here.
Flower lovers in your life are like, I'll work for flowers.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
gorgeous. Oh, here's some more.
Little flocks.
Little flocks, which will get larger.
Hopefully.
And the amaranth here?
Amaranth, I love it. I love seeing it from a distance too. I think it's going to get a whole row next year.
Yeah, because it gives you...
Whether it sells or not, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just nice to break up all the green.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yes.
So you had a lot of drip irrigation to install then?
We
did. Drip lines, I guess.
Yes. There's a wonderful company in the valley, Dunning Irrigation, and they helped me plan the whole system, and then we installed it.
Wow.
But yeah, they were able to. I told them what we wanted to do, and actually the man who helps me there is a flower grower. He breeds fuchsias, so he kind of knew.
He got you.
He got me, yes.
I like looking back here on your beautiful property too.
Oh,
How long have you lived here?
We've lived here for about 8.5 years.
Wow, gorgeous. I'd love to see the befores when it was just dirt, and now it's beautiful flowers.
We have pictures. I could show you pictures.
Good. Well, let's walk back and sit down and just hear your story. I want to share it with everybody.
Sure.
Welcome back to the Slow Flowers podcast. I'm Deborah Prinzing, and I'm so excited today to be at Walla Walla Flower Farm with Ann Sumner. Hi, Ann.
Hi. It's so good to be here. What an honor to have you here.
I'm so glad you said yes when I invited you. Ann is a new member of Slow Flowers, and of course, I love the town of Walla Walla, Washington. You can't just say that without it rolling off your tongue, but we're in the Walla Walla Valley.
We are in the Walla Walla Valley.
And as you said, this is Oregon, but just like a half a mile over the state line, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm a half a mile into Oregon, but I work in Walla Walla every day.
This is exciting because so many people are starting flower farming, and to hear from a first-year flower farmer, I think it'll be very encouraging for people and reassuring, like you can do it, Ann's going to tell you how she did it. And so give us a snapshot of Walla Walla Flower Farm, and we'll talk about what it is, and then we'll talk about how you got to this path, or how the path led to this point.
Sure. Walla Walla Flower Farm is kind of a grand experiment, right? So being my first year, I don't know what I can grow here. I have an idea because I've grown flowers in my garden, and I've cut flowers from my garden before, so I have an idea. But this year is really just about what's going to grow well out here.
Okay. And you've lived here for 8 years. So
you've lived here for 8 years.
You've got mature plantings.
Correct.
That you kind of learned from already.
Yes, and I inherited from Alice, who lived here before I did. So
okay.
Yes.
Is your plan to grow cut flowers as a second income? You said you also work in Walla Walla. Is this your side hustle, or is this like you're maybe moving toward?
Yeah, I called it my side hustle when I was introducing it at my work, but
to your
look
colleagues?
what I'm doing to my colleagues. But I have a wonderful employer, and they're working with me so that I can pursue this, because I would like this to be what I do.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. So now the flower, you said you just started planting in April. Have you started harvesting yet, or will you start pretty soon? And let's talk about your market. Where are you hoping to sell your flowers?
That's a great question. So yes, I have started cutting. I had tulips early on. I had ranunculus. I have snaps that I'm harvesting right now.
Yes, they are gorgeous.
Thank you. I have sweet peas that I'm harvesting right now. And so far my market has been, believe it or not, all from Instagram. There's actually a large community of flower people here. They're hiding on Instagram. You can't just Google them all. So they've been my main customers so far, and my work had a banquet and they needed centerpieces, so I did that. But I would love to. I have room to expand, as you can see. So I would love to sell to wholesalers and scale. So that's the eventual goal.
Right. So right now, if you're selling retail to individuals and kind of like a CSA model, or is it not even that formal?
It's not even that formal yet. Yeah.
It's like people just message you on Instagram and say, I'd love to have a bucket, or I'd love to have a bouquet.
Yeah, I need tulips. Do you have tulips?
Wow.
Can you bring me a bucket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your tulips, backing up just a sec, you had to plant those last fall.
I planted them actually in January.
Really?
I did.
Okay. And in crates or in indoors with lighting, what did you do?
I threw them in a garden box.
Okay.
And hoped for the best, and they did great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
they
wonderful.
Did great.
A garden box being like a crate or a...
Like a 4x8 raised bed.
Okay. Oh, okay. But outdoors.
Outdoors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, in January?
I put the bulbs in the ground in January.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so maybe I have a wrong assumption about the climate here. What's your zone?
7A.
Okay.
Or 7A.
So it's milder than people would think.
Mm-hmm.
You're high desert, but you're not like ice pack, for months in the winter, or snow cover in the winter.
We can and we have, but not lately.
Okay. Yeah.
And we did have one day of really hot, like -11 this winter, but other than that, it's
wow,
fairly temperate.
That's great. I'm so glad you had like that. I don't know, instant gratification with the tulips, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because people are so hungry for those. And then the ranunculus also. Did you plant in garden boxes about the same time, or?
I put those in garden boxes later, probably in February, maybe the end of January, 1st of February. I put them in garden boxes, and I made them little, my husband called them covered wagons.
Yeah.
Put hoops over them with plastic, so I kept an eye on those a little bit more carefully than the tulips.
They were protected.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
They were fun. They were a lot of fun.
Well, I think also they're just such luxury flowers, and people who are used to going to the grocery store maybe aren't familiar with these more premium flowers. So that gets them excited about, having them in their homes. When you mentioned the flower people lurking on Instagram, are you talking about like fellow growers, or okay, so there are other growers here in the valley, and they're starting
definitely other growers
supporting each other.
Yes. I reached out to Elaine
Vandiver
of Gholson Gardens. She's just up the road, and I think it was about February I reached out to her, and I just said, hi Elaine. I'm Ann. I live down the road from you. I like flowers too. Should we have coffee?
Oh, wonderful.
And
yeah, because I kind of consider her maybe one of the first people that I knew of who was growing out here.
Yeah. And she was very receptive and came and had coffee with me, and we had a great time. And I asked her, I said, well, who else is there? And she started rattling off all these names of people on Instagram, and I'm writing them down. I'm like, we should know each other.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I took, whether I knew of them or not, I invited them all over.
Wow.
And the first time 3 people came. That includes me.
This is just since the first of the year.
March was the first time I just invited anybody flower in the valley I knew of, and said, if there's anybody else, just invite them to. Opened it up because we should all be supporting each other and know each other.
Yeah.
There were 3 of us at the first meeting, and then another gal reached out and said, can I host the next one? Of course you can. And there were 8 people.
Oh, wonderful.
And then a week ago today, we had our 3rd get together, and there were new faces, so I think we're up to like 12 or 15 total. Just getting together to know each other and supporting each other and networking in that way.
Right. It's so encouraging that this groundswell of capability, like you're clearly proving that this region is appropriate for flower farming. It's an agricultural region, so why wouldn't it have been appropriate for flower farming, right?
Right.
And you mentioned wanting to perhaps sell wholesale. Is there a floral wholesaler here? I know Spokane has a big floral wholesaler, right?
Spokane does. There's not in Walla Walla, but I know, Mayesh comes to the valley once a week. Charlie's
Okay.
Produce comes here.
So
Washington Floral comes
People
here.
come here from like Tacoma or
Spokane,
or Portland.
Boise, Portland.
So those are people who could deliver here, and then they're leaving with empty trucks. And what could go in those trucks?
Correct.
Your
Could
flowers.
be. Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it?
It would be wonderful. It would be wonderful because it's just, the pressure on, and I don't mean this as a negative, the positive pressure on wholesalers to have locally grown flowers is somewhat overwhelming. I mean, Mayesh has put a lot of intent into it. I think some others have as well, Delaware Valley on the East Coast. And so there's some that are saying, oh yeah, I better start connecting and figuring out how to do a program with local flower farmers because your volume is never going to be like a mega farm in California.
Right.
But others are, need to be shown that this is possible. And when you're interested in that channel, then it makes it easy. I hope to find a wholesale partner.
Yeah.
I thought maybe when you mentioned wholesale, you were also referring to selling direct to florists. Is that something that is possible here, or is it easier to just go the retail route and sell to customers direct?
It is possible. There are a lot of designers. This is a wedding destination.
I see. Oh, so maybe the event florist who would be buying from you.
Correct. Once those connections are made, yes.
So it's because there's sort of a wine community. Walla Walla is known for the vineyards and wineries, and so they're thus venues for weddings.
Correct.
Wow. Especially in the fall during harvest, I bet,
Right.
Especially, which is why you're growing all that amaranth and dahlias.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, tell me how you got to this point. Like you obviously have had a family ties to growing commodity crops, and mainly, did you say alfalfa?
Alfalfa, wheat, beef, peas, just your normal Walla Walla Valley farmers.
So you grew up in this?
I grew up in this.
Okay.
I grew up out in the field. I grew up out changing pipes. My dad's a farmer. His dad was a farmer. His dad was a farmer. All here in the valley.
Oh, how exciting! So you're like fourth generation at least.
Yes, my sister farms with my dad now. My sister and brother-in-law run the family operation, which is right over there.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
And my goal was always to move back home. And so after 27 years of living out of the valley, I was able to move back home, and so happy to be here. So close to my mom and dad. I go have coffee with my parents every morning at 6:30 because they live right over the hill.
Oh, wow.
So that's wonderful. And my bliss is out in the fields.
Where had you been living?
In the Midwest, in North Bend, Washington for a couple years, and then in Boise area for about 15 years.
Okay, so your roots were elsewhere, but only partly there because you had this idea to come back.
Right.
Okay.
This is home.
So you came back about, did you say about 8 years ago? And then obviously this is the long game, setting up the flower farm.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
How did you go about it? Did you just, like you were telling me that you planted dahlias from seeds? Like, I don't think a lot of first-year flower farmers would even know that was an option. I mean, you just did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people, or
I
self-taught.
I did. Well, I listened to your podcast for one thing.
Hopefully there'll be there's people who gave you advice indirectly on that.
Yes. My kids call me Cannonball, so when I decide to do something, I'm all in. And when I decided to do this, which was probably, all along, how can I farm? Because I have plenty of room here. I have 19 and a half acres.
On your parcel?
On my parcel.
Wow.
But
that's a lot.
Growing alfalfa and wheat, it's not a lot. So how can I farm? Because I want to be out there farming.
So if you're growing alfalfa and wheat, you need like hundreds of acres, or
if you're going to make a living.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it's a volume business.
Correct.
Okay. So flowers have the distinction of being this value-added crop that you could start on a smaller scale.
Right.
Okay.
So when I was thinking about it and like, how can I be out there? How can I be out there more? This came up and I was like, well, where have I been? Why did it take me so long? Because I've known Aaron McMullen of Raindrop Farms for years and years.
Do you know Aaron through the fiddler
Yes.
crowd? Okay,
Yes.
I wondered about that. Okay, tell me a little bit about, because she does a caller at the fiddler
She
conferences.
is an MC a lot. Her mom is a fiddler.
Okay.
So her mom and dad have been through here and stayed here. We've known Scott's known them longer than I have, but decades. We've known them for decades. So
and your husband Scott is his? Do you have the same last name?
Sumner, yes.
Okay, Scott Sumner is like a competitive fiddler, right? And you
He's
are
a fiddler.
too.
Well, he'll say I'm a fiddler, but I say I'm not a fiddler. The rest of the family's a fiddler.
Okay.
I do play rhythm guitar, but
yeah, that's amazing. But I remember when Erin McMullen and Aaron Gatsky of Raindrop Farm, who've been on the podcast in the past, longtime Slow Flowers members. I remember when she told me that there's a big summer event, a big festival, and she's the MC or the the personality that runs the thing.
She does a great job.
Yeah, well, she's not a shy gal.
No.
So how interesting when you mentioned fiddling. And part of me thought, I wonder if that's what Erin does. So okay, so she told you she's been a flower farmer for 20 years.
She has, and I've always admired her and said, you are bad, Erin. Like, this is awesome. But I never made the connection for myself.
Like, oh, I have land.
I can do that.
I can do that. Oh my goodness.
I did never make that connection.
Oh
and
my
so,
goodness.
Timing's everything.
Yeah.
But when it clicked, and I was all in and did as much research as I could. And, I was itching to get in the field and borrowed equipment from my brother-in-law and worked my ground before other people worked. Because I was just so, started seeds before I should have. But, I was just so anxious to get going.
That story. So you having a few role models, I think, even just shows you the possibility. Even though you're farming, they're in Oregon. Of course, you're in Oregon, but they're quite a ways away in the Willamette Valley.
Yeah.
Maybe have different cultural conditions.
Yeah. We did go to the cut flower growers
meetup in February.
That was inspiring and educational as well.
Oh, I've participated in the Pacific Northwest Cut Flower Growers meetup. Usually it's President's Weekend, and it always lately has been conflicting with the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival, which I work for, so I couldn't go this year, but we would have met there.
Yeah.
So,
we would have.
but there's a lot of, that draws people from Washington, Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, British Columbia. So it's a really great regional group, and now you're part of it.
Yeah.
And the things that you've mentioned that I think, if you're going to give advice to anyone, maybe this is it, is to build a community. Like, the very first thing you did was invite strangers over to your house to talk about flowers. And they said yes, and now who knows where it's going to go. It's already triggered, let's get together again kind of decisions.
Yes. When we visited before and you talked about what would you do the same, what would you do differently, and I was thinking about that, and definitely from the get-go, just reaching out. And my friend Katie, who grows out here, I knew her through my sister, and I thought she'd be interested in this. And so when we sat down and started visiting, we realized that we had the opportunity for a great partnership. But definitely the community, my connection that I made at the irrigation supply, I reached out and I got a small business advisor, and he was very helpful. He advised that I build a relationship with a banker, which I did. And, just all of these connections. Wow. And then all of the flower people who are they're all wonderful. It's really interesting. We all do something a little bit different. Yeah. And so it's really fun to visit with them. And
so you're not viewing any of them as competition. You're viewing them as kind of people walking the same path as you, who can be, complementary in what you're growing, or probably end up buying from each other. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, Aaron Gatsky at the Cut Growers, he said, these people next to you are not your competition. Yeah. These are your comrades. So I think, our competition is the 80% of the flowers out there that are coming from outside the country, from who knows.
Did you guys hear that? Say that again, Ann.
Our competition is not each other.
Yeah.
Our competition is the 80% of flowers that are coming in, being flown in from outside the country. Yeah. So our regional group, we are comrades. We are not competition.
Yes, and after dining at one of Walla Walla's farm-to-table restaurants last night for my husband's birthday, I realized how vibrant the consumer base is here in terms of interest in supporting local and kind of understanding that there is this, I'm hoping that they'll see the farm to table movement is also the the farm to vase movement. That they're going to want to buy flowers too, and you just have this year to figure out where you're going to specialize, because right now you're doing a little bit of everything. I feel like you're really focused on relationships and community, and is that just how you live your life, or
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
But it's also how, watching my dad as a farmer in this farming community, nobody farms in a vacuum. Everyone is always helping each other, or borrowing equipment, or I'll harvest your wheat if I can have a straw, or maybe you can haul some cattle for me, or it's always a collaborative, even though everyone has their own farm, and
Yeah.
it's always collaborative. We would be lost without each other, really. So it's a lot of collaboration as a farmer.
And it's sort of like a non-monetary relationship based barter system, but hopefully people are reciprocal, and it's not really scorekeeping. It's more like, I need help today, and I know you'll need help tomorrow, and we got to get through this together.
Well, you always want it to be even, but there's a lot of really good people.
Yeah,
a lot of really good people around.
That's a good attitude to have, and just good advice for us in anything we're tackling in life. So.
Right.
Which is okay,
yeah.
Right?
It's a big experiment this year. That's what the experiments are. Where do you focus next year? So, what do I cut and what do I focus on next year? That's the goal this year.
Wow, that's great. Anything else that we should discuss that I didn't ask you? We'll share all your social media links and your website so people can stalk you.
Oh my.
I think it's great. I'm excited to see where you go, and maybe I'll come back in a couple years and we'll do a "Where is she now?" conversation.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah, I'd love that.
All right. Thank you so much, Anne.
Oh, thank you. It's
great.
an honor to have you here.
Okay. Here's Weezer, Idaho, National Time Critters Contest.
Bravo. Oh my gosh, I truly did not want that to end. Ann Sumner on rhythm guitar and Scott Sumner on fiddle. What a duo. That was such a gift. Thank you both so much. And thank you for joining me today. You can watch the replay video for episode 617 at slowflowerspodcast.com. And you'll also see resources about Walla Walla Flower Farm and some photos that Ann has shared. And don't forget, we are in the heart of American Flowers Week, so I invite you to create a red, white, and bluish arrangement during this holiday weekend. Please post it and use the hashtag American Flowers Week. And visit AmericanFlowersWeek.com to find all of our free resources to celebrate and promote local and domestic flowers. I want to take a moment to thank our supporters who bring this show to you. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 850 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to Farm Girl Flowers, our lead sponsor, Farm Girl Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S. grown, fresh, and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgirlflowers.com. Thank you to Cal Flowers, the leading floral trade association in California, providing valuable transportation and other benefits to flower growers and the entire floral supply chain in California and 48 other states. The association is a leader in bringing fresh cut flowers to the U.S. market and in promoting the benefits of flowers to new generations of American consumers. Learn more at cafgs.org. Thank you to Store It Cold, creators of the revolutionary CoolBot, a popular solution for flower farmers, studio florists, and farmer florists. Save thousands when you build your own walk-in cooler with the CoolBot system and an air conditioner. If you don't have time to build your own, they also have turnkey units available. Learn more at storeitcold.com. Thank you to Red Twig Farms. Based in Johnstown, Ohio, Red Twig Farms is a family-owned farm specializing in peonies, daffodils, tulips and branches, a popular peony bouquet by mail program, and their Spread the Hope campaign, where customers purchase 10 tulip stems for essential workers and others in their community. Learn more at redtwigfarms.com. I love all this floral goodness, and I'm so happy you joined me today. The Slow Flowers Show is a member-supported endeavor, and I value our loyal members and supporters. If you're new to our weekly show or our long-running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowerssociety.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of The Slow Flowers Show and The Slow Flowers Podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Thanks so much for joining us today.